Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Movie Mortis, where movie madness lives. This is our podcast. I am Nick.
And I'm Drew.
And today we'll be reviewing the 1999 movie Sleepy Hollow, starring Johnny Depp.
And Christina, that Christ, why am I screwing up her name? Christina Ricci. There we go.
Hey, we both stuttered on an episode. I stuttered last episode on Blade, and you stuttered this episode now. Anyways, Drew, what is the plot synopsis of the movie? This is one of your favorite movies.
Well, it's one of my favorite Tim Burton movies, and
Oh,
yeah, it's a movie I like a lot. So basically, it's about Ichabod Crane, played by Johnny Depp, who is a New York constable who gets sent down from New York to Sleepy Hollow to investigate a series of beheadings, which are done by the Headless Horseman. And in doing so, he uncovers quite the conspiracy involving some of the town's upper echelon. And that's all I'm going to say.
all right.
So the first thing I do want to talk about, and it's the first thing that some people tend to talk about with this movie, outside of the visual style, which we'll get to, but this movie is called Sleepy Hollow. It's obviously based on, it even says in the opening credit sequence, based on The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving, the original story.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little misleading, I think, because this is a completely different story than the original book. Um, and hell, and that plot synopsis I just gave is one of the biggest departures from the book. Is Ichabod Crane himself, the character. In this movie, he is a constable, basically a police officer. The what was it, 1700 version of police, basically.
Yeah, 1700s.
Yeah, it takes place in 1799, by the way. So he is a constable. Has all these scientific inventions that he uses to solve crimes and stuff. Gets him in trouble with his superiors. He's a bit socially awkward, but very well-meaning. Very wanting to bring the he wants justice to be served, right?
Yeah.
Basically, in the original book, Ichabod Crane is not that at all. In the original book, Ichabod Crane is a schoolmaster, not a constable, and he is how do we say this? He's kind of an asshole in the book. Like, yeah, he's kind of an asshole.
How so?
Well, for one, he's kind of an outsider to the townspeople in the original book. Most of the townspeople aren't fans of him. And also, much like in the movie, there is a sort of romance with him and Katrina Van Tassel. Um, but the difference is that yes, he does sort of fall in love with Katrina Van Tassel. He's more interested in inheriting her family's wealth
Oh.
more than anything. Yeah, and there's also a whole thing with the character of Brom Bones, who in this movie is Brom Van Brunt, but in the book it's Brom Bones, who is he is like competing with Ichabod for Trina, basically, a bit of a sort of a love triangle going on. Um, and also in the original book, another huge different difference is that the Headless Horseman is in the book a legend. The original Legend of Sleepy Hollow is a ghost story about a ghost story, basically.
Really?
And so,
So
yeah,
it's a story within a story.
yeah. And so, the Headless Horseman in the book it's kind of, while he does appear at the end, it's, it's kind of ambiguous whether or not it's the actual Headless Horseman, or whether or not it's Brom Bones playing a prank on Ichabod. Because the way the story plays out in the book, it's a very short story, so it's kind of hard to adapt into a feature-length film. But
Hmm.
so what happens is Ichabod comes to town to become the schoolmaster. He sort of falls in love with Katrina Van Tassel and is very enraptured by the thought of inheriting her family's wealth and all that. And
Hmm.
so he attends a party at the Van Tassel Manor, and Brom Bones is there, and a bunch of townspeople are there. And Brom Bones, it's at this part where Brom Bones tells the story of the Headless Horseman.
Huh.
And so the Headless Horseman is said to be a ghost of a Hessian trooper who lost his head in a battle during the Revolutionary War, who got his head taken off by a cannonball in the Revolutionary War.
Huh.
And so it's said that he roams the area around Sleepy Hollow in search of his lost head. And and so Ichabod, as he's going home after the party later that night, is when he encounters Headless Horseman. Or maybe maybe it's Brom Bones playing a prank on him. The book it's kind of ambiguous. It's implied that it's Brom Bones, but not like set in stone. It's not confirmed. It's just that the chase happens, and the next day, all that's left of Ichabod is, I believe, his hat and a shattered pumpkin, and that is it. Ichabod's never seen or heard from again.
Did you read the story?
Well, this is like the third time I've shown this off, viewers, but my 4K steelbook of the Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow comes with a book inside of it that is the original story of Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
By Washington Irving. So, yes, I've read most of it.
So, in your I know we're talking about the movie, but in your interpretation of the story, do you think Ichabod was actually killed, or was it a prank? What do you believe?
I tend to believe that it was probably a prank, because I think that's the main sort of like theme of the story, is that it's supposed to be a story about the power of a ghost story, basically.
Oh, okay.
And so the kind of like the motivation for Brom to pull this prank on him is to scare him away from Katrina.
Yeah. And they actually do the Headless Horseman prank in the movie too, so I think that's actually a nice call.
They do, yes. They do, yes. And there's several different points where they do call back to famous elements, either in the story or in the 1949 Disney adaptation from the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. For example, in that very sequence that you just brought up, there's a shot where Brom, as the Headless Horseman, throws a flaming pumpkin at Ichabod.
Oh.
That's straight out of the Disney version.
Nice, yeah. You know, it's funny. I actually have a vague memory of seeing that that clip in a DVD ad for HD DVD back when that was a thing, but it's no longer a thing anymore.
And so there are a lot of, like I said, as you can tell by my description of the book, it's a very different story from what happens in the movie. In fact, the screenwriter for this movie, Andrew Kevin Walker, originally wrote this movie as a more faithful adaptation, but eventually it kind of changed into he worked with Kevin Yeager, I believe, who's one of the movie's this movie's special effects people, and I think he might be a producer on this movie too. Mm-hmm. But he was kind of involved early on in the story thing, and eventually it took shape into like a more traditional slasher film, and then it changed shape again into basically what we have now. In fact, Kevin Yeager was originally supposed to be the director, but I don't know if it was just due to a conflict with Paramount or what, but he stepped down as director. He remained on the project as the special effects supervisor, but not as the director. They eventually got Tim Burton, who I think was the perfect choice to direct this movie.
Yeah, I agree. Tim Burton really has a thing for like the gothic style.
Oh yeah.
Like it's funny too, because like there's a lot of movies that are not directed by Tim Burton. They're somewhat produced by Tim Burton, but they're not Tim Burton films. Like there's so many people who think The Nightmare Before Christmas is a Tim Burton film. It's not.
Mm-hmm. He didn't direct it, did he? He didn't.
No, he didn't direct it.
Okay.
He didn't. I mean, there's some people thought. Sorry, you first.
He produced it though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I remember back when I used to watch Honest Trailers, there was like a joke about that where it's like from Tim. Oh, it's not from Tim Burton. Produced by Tim Burton. They just got confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nightmare Before Christmas is not a Tim Burton movie. It is. Was he? Oh, well, he wrote it. He's a co-writer. He wrote the story and characters.
So it kind of is a Tim Burton movie.
It is. It is.
Yeah. But I will say, in terms of Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton's unique visual style adds so much character to this movie. Like, to me, like this is one of the most. Last night I was watching this on my 4K TV, on the 4K Blu-ray, and it is like genuinely like one of some of the most stunning gothic visuals I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh yeah, I like it, and I think the whole atmosphere is freaking amazing too.
Oh god, yeah. I love the atmosphere of this movie. I love the everything from the color tones to the way the buildings look. Like a lot of the buildings in Sleepy Hollow have this sort of like German expressionist angled sort of like
Yeah.
almost fantastical look to them.
Yeah.
But at the same time it's so of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
feels like a village in New York, while at the same time it feels kind of fantastical and sort of exaggerated.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I was completely taken out of New York before. Like I've been to New York, but like
Mhm.
just something about the whole time period. My like just the whole time period just feels like a completely different world entirely, and I respect the film for that.
Exactly, yeah. And like I said, it adds so much to this movie's character. Like
Uh-huh.
the gothic visuals add so much to the movie. And to be honest, I one of my sort of criticisms of this movie, and we'll get to a little bit more later once we get into the story, is that I think this conspiracy plot line with the upper echelon of the Sleepy Hollow townspeople can be a bit hard to follow on a first watch. But I've seen this movie like a bunch of times now, so I can follow it.
I only
But
saw this movie once.
uh, but yeah, we'll get into a little more in the story. But I do want to talk about because I know Nick, you told me before we started recording this that you thought the movie opened a little slow. So
No,
why don't
just
you elaborate
there's
on
just
that?
some parts I thought were just a little strange, but then drew me back in. It's like Tony Soprano put it best. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Because I absolutely love the opening sequence of this movie. It starts off with a guy writing the last will and testament. He
Yeah,
seals it up, puts it in an envelope, puts it in a satchel, gets in the carriage, and you can tell he's just uneasy about something. He's just uneasy about something, and then next thing you know, another horse rider comes in. You don't know who it is. Comes in. He's like all freaked out and everything. He gets on top of the carriage, and the driver of the carriage does not have a head anymore.
decapitation.
And decapitation. There are a lot of decapitations in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Um,
The movie's tagline, the poster is literally "Heads will roll."
exactly. And in fact, I even have a Sleepy Hollow hoodie, and on the back of it, it says "Heads will roll" on the back of it. Anyways, so
Keep rolling, rolling, rolling.
yeah. And
Anyways,
also the line "Heads will roll" is present in the Motionless in White song "Undead Ahead 2: The Tale of the Midnight Ride," which is an amazing song. If you all don't know it, you should I'll go listen to it. It's based on the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. It's an amazing song, and I got to hear it live this past weekend when I saw Motionless in White in Wheatland, California. It was so amazing. Anyways, opening scene of Sleepy Hollow.
I love
So
the opening scene. I actually love the opening scene. I think it's really nice and just like okay. So hear me out. I've seen some of my fair share of Tim Burton's films, but it kind of reminded me of Charlie and a Chocolate Factory, where it's a close-ups of like the chocolate being made, but here in Sleepy Hollow, it's like the will being signed, the letter. It's like it's all these close-ups and just like
Yeah.
what's going on? Oh, what could this lead to? It's actually something important, kind of like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which by the way was a Tim Burton film. And I want to say, like, it's funny how you mentioned it. The movie's very loosely adapted. It takes a lot of creative liberties, whereas Chocolate Factory is actually a lot more faithful to the Ronald Dahl book compared to the Willy Wonka movie. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. Yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, but back when I said earlier, it's a close of a really vital item to the story.
Exactly. It's a close up. It's close-ups of the last will and testament, and you see the bits of the family tree. So it glues you in. Oh, okay, something shady is going on here, and it puts the seeds in the viewer's mind of, oh, pay attention to this. This is going to become important later on. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love how you don't even really see the headless horseman in this opening scene. You
Oh
kind
yeah.
of just see him on the side or in the silhouette or whatever. And so I absolutely love the part he gets out of the guy gets out of the carriage. I believe his name is Van Garrett. I believe he gets out of the carriage. He goes into this wheat field and he comes across this like scarecrow that has a pumpkin on it. Super cool. I also love the sequence of shots where he turns around. You sort of hear the head decapitation, and
Oh.
there's the opening scene ends on a close up of blood spilling onto that pumpkin as thunder is in the background, and then it cuts to black.
Nice.
Fucking amazing opening scene right there.
Nice.
Because it establishes sort of what the horror is early on. Although you don't explicitly know it's the Headless Horseman at that point, assuming you haven't read the plot synopsis or seen the trailers. But you know that there's a ghostly rider out there chopping off heads.
And the trailer, one of the first, and I know, for some reason I was like having not an argument, but with a distant family member. We were like I said that, you know, there's never a Disney cartoon that was PG-13, but he said like Sleepy Hollow, so I found Sleepy Hollow, the live action movie, and I saw the trailer, and the first thing it shows is like, what's that guy's name? What's the kid's name again? What's the little kid's name?
The one who gets killed by the Headless
Not the one who gets killed, the one who assists Ichabod.
Oh, young Mazbeth.
Yeah, old Mazbeth. So yeah, where he kills like old Mazbeth. He's running away, but the Headless Horseman takes his head.
But yeah, I think the opening scene is fantastic, and so I also do really like the scenes in New York early on because it kind of sets up the whole plot dynamic with the character dynamic of Ichabod Crane. I know it's a bit of an unusual name for the 21st century, but and it so perfectly sets up the sort of character dynamic of Ichabod Crane being like a bit of a man of science. Meanwhile, everyone around him is very like even in New York, it's very like set in their ways. Like this is how we do things. He even sort of gets scolded by Christopher Lee. So
I was wondering who that was.
I wasn't sure
if it was Christopher Lee or the guy who plays Gandalf the Grey, not Gandalf the White, Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah, that was Christopher Lee, Count Dracula himself, Count Dooku himself.
Yeah. Actually, wait, is it Gandalf? No, okay, hang on. No, it's hang on. I have Sauron. I'm trying to remember the guy's name from Lord of the Rings. Dang it! But hang on.
I'm pretty sure Christopher Lee was in Lord of the Rings too.
He was. I'm getting his name wrong. It's what was it? Well, it's Saruman, not Saruman. That's his name. I almost said Sauron. He's Saruman, Lord of the Rings. But anyways, yeah, Christopher Lee's a freaking legend.
I also really love how there's a shot as he's telling Ichabod Crane, you're gonna do this. There is, if you see in the background, there's a pair of wings behind him, so it kind of makes him look like Dracula in a way. Really cool attention to detail. And then after this, I think is one of the most visually stunning title sequences I've ever seen in a movie, where you have Ichabod as he's in the carriage going to Sleepy Hollow. It sort of cuts between the exterior shots as well as the shots of him reading a book or something in the carriage, and you see I love how the titles for the credits, like they're in this ghostly font and they sort of fade away into like the background, into these like very like sort of drab backgrounds. So I really like it. I really like the title sequence. I know we don't normally talk about title sequences here, when, let's be honest, we probably should a bit more often.
I think we did so Drive.
Yeah, and I also love how the title sequence ends when you see, directed by Tim Burton, it ends on this amazing shot of the Van Tassel Manor, and it looks like a haunted mansion, and then you see like a pumpkin skeleton sort of scarecrow thing in one corner of the frame, and then you have like the mansion and the sort of background as Ichabod's going to. This movie is just visually, it's so good.
Yeah, it's a visually great movie. Captures the gothic 1700s aesthetic really well. Was 1700s like the Industrial Revolution or no?
I think so. Might have been in the early 1800s, but I don't remember. I'm not a historian, people.
I mean, you do know your history, so
I know some things about history.
Okay, yeah. I just know I know like a bit of the basics and some random ass obscure shit. But anyways,
well, we have to remember this movie takes place in a small village, so
that's fair. That is absolutely fair. So the visually, Sleepy Hollow is great. I wanted to comment that Ichabod, like you said, was he's a lot more quirky, if for lack of a better word. He's a lot more quirky and energetic. And I think in a way having Johnny Depp, I don't know if that was Johnny Depp improvising or he would. That's exactly how he was written, because Johnny Depp added a lot of character to Ichabod. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Milo from Atlantis: The Lost Empire. If that makes any sense.
I have not seen that movie, nor have I heard of it.
Oh, dude, you got to. I swear, man. Disney had like a series of underrated. This is our topic for another day. But anyways,
you also have to remember too. You have to remember this was the one of the early sort of collaborations between Johnny Depp and Tim Burton. A collaboration that went on to very much wear out its welcome over time. But really? I believe this was their third movie together, because they did Ed Wood and Edward Scissorhands together up to this point.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Ed Wood. I forgot about that movie. But anyways, but like I said, Johnny Depp, I feel like has a way of adding a lot of life to characters. Like, you got Ichabod, Jack Sparrow, the main the main guy from what's that movie? Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, and Hunter S. Thompson himself in The Rum Diaries. So he's got I'm probably cheating by picking 2 Hunter S. Thompson properties, but he was also in that one movie of like the vampire who's like buried in a mansion, but a modern day family finds him. So Johnny Depp has a thing for like adding a lot, for bringing a lot of life and energy to every character he plays.
It's actually something that Tim Burton talked about in one of the behind the scenes documentaries that I watched on the Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. Tim Burton spoke so glowingly of Johnny Depp's ability to kind of, as he puts it, to basically sort of make an ass out of himself in favor of, for the sake of the performance. Because he does some pretty somewhat goofy things in not only this movie, but some of the other movies that he's done.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of alluded to that quirkiness, that sort of sort of social awkwardness, if that makes sense. And I think Johnny Depp based a lot of this performance, I forget who the actor was, but on an actor who once played Sherlock Holmes back in the 1940s or the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, Johnny Depp he's so good in this movie. In fact, Johnny Depp was actually, when he was first given this role, he actually wanted to wear more prosthetics.
Really?
To make him look more like the Ichabod that's presented in the book.
Really?
Because in the book, Ichabod is described as having a bit of a long nose, big pointy ears, really long
even the
fingers.
Disney cartoon he was like that.
Yeah. But I don't know if it was either Tim Burton or the studio or both. We're just like, if we're gonna have Johnny Depp, we're gonna have Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. So I'm trying to look up that one movie he was in. He was a vampire and Tim Burton directed it.
It wasn't Sweeney Todd, was it?
No. Dark Shadows. That's the movie. Dark Shadows.
Okay.
Dark Shadows. And yeah, it was a Tim Burton movie. But anyways, but yeah, like you said, Johnny Depp, good fucking performance of Ichabod Crane.
And honestly, I think he has pretty decent chemistry with Christina Ricci as well. I think their chemistry is really good. So I have a... What's up?
This might be a hot take, but I had mixed feelings on not now Siri. I had mixed feelings on Christina, what's her name's acting, Katrina. I don't know, something about it, I don't know. I just didn't feel like a lot of sense for her character. I mean, yeah, she was there in the beginning. She was there when he comforted Ichabod in bed, and then there was that thing at the end where she was the last witness to get killed by a headless horseman. Something about her, I don't know if it was her character or acting, but something about her just it didn't rub me the wrong way. I don't know.
Well, I will. Well, I will. I'm not. I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but I will agree that one of my other sort of criticisms with this movie, and I guess we can get into it right now, is that some of the line delivery is a bit weird. I think, I know they're trying to, and Christina Ricci is kind of a bit of a big perpetrator of that. Um, and that's no disrespect to Christina
No,
Ricci.
no,
She's a
I
great
no, no.
actress, but
I
yeah,
just, I'm looking at my notes and keeping track of the podcast.
yeah. But But yeah, there is some bit hokey line delivery that feels very like, for lack of a better term, it feels very stage like, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean when I say stage like, to where it's like it feels kind of like theater, like they're kind of being intentionally a little bit on the
Yeah,
nose and over the top.
yeah. I've seen plays in theater, but yeah.
Yeah. Um. So I got a question for you, and I don't want you
What's
to
up?
look it up. I don't want you to look it up.
It's fine.
I just want you to answer this question for me.
Bring it.
What two actors play the Headless Horseman in this movie? There's one actor you see where you see him with the head and everything, and then there's a stunt actor who plays him
Uh,
for most of the movie.
all right. So for the head actor, I'm gonna guess the guy who plays Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, not the Hobbit, the original, because Bilbo was no, Bil, Bilbo was in freaking Lord of the Rings as an old guy. So I'm gonna guess him for playing the head actor. The headless guy. Well, I could. I'm just gonna list a random actor, Ray Park.
You're correct.
Wait, really?
Ray Park played the Headless Horseman in this movie. Darth Maul himself played the Headless Horseman in this
Holy
movie.
shit! I just took a shot in the dark. I took a shot in the dark.
So as far as for the first actor you got though, I wish you would have mentioned a name, because the guy who plays him in the flashback sequences, as well as at the end when he gets his skull, is Christopher Walken.
All right. I'm gonna Christopher. Wait, Christopher Walken. Why does that sound so familiar? Yeah, I'm actually. is that okay? I have to find out. Is that? Oh no, that's Ian Holm, not Christopher Walken. Why does he sound? Why does that sound? His name sounds familiar. What movies was he in? Oh, he was in Catch Me If You Can. Oh, and he
I
was
think he
also
was
in
in
The
the.
Deer Hunter. And so, okay, I know this guy. I know this guy. He's in some good stuff.
Yeah, I first watched this movie back in like 2020 during the pandemic because it was
Mm-hmm.
free on Amazon Prime. I hadn't really heard much about it because it's
Yeah.
kind of one of Tim Burton's movies that's kind of flown under the radar in recent years.
Really?
Yeah,
Really? Because this got critical acclaim and even spawned like comic book prequels.
yeah, it did when it came out, but I'm talking more nowadays.
Hmm. That's
Um,
crazy. Because even like I said, 2000s when HD was being advertised, they have a clip of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman throwing the pumpkin.
yeah, I mean the movie was a big, huge box office hit. It
Yeah.
only, in fact, on opening weekend, it only lost to I think The World Is Not Enough, the James Bond film.
Mm.
Either that or Die Another Day was one of those.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that tends to be a case of a lot of movies. Like they're good. They receive critical acclaim. Box office numbers can vary, honestly, because I think that's a whole I think that's a whole subject for like movies that didn't do well back then, but suddenly got their suddenly got their footing back then.
Yeah, but anyways, when I was watching this movie back in 2020, not knowing what to expect other than it was Tim Burton, and I was kind of getting into horror at that time because of Ice Nine Kills.
Mm.
But I watched it and I was like, huh, that's Christopher Walken playing the Headless Horseman.
That's
And I was
crazy.
like, holy shit. And he has those pointed teeth and everything, which, by the way, on set, Christopher Walken, I don't know how many days he was on set because he's only really in like 2 scenes, but
Yeah.
but apparently that spiky teeth thing that he had to wear, he could barely talk through it. So it's like that's kind of a reason why his lines are just some variation of, or,
It's just grunts and screams.
yeah. So that's kind of
He's
part
like
of the
Link from
reason.
Legend of Zelda. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Which
also he had to wear contact lenses for the supernatural sort of looking of his eyes, which I guess I don't know if those were probably not fun to wear, but you know,
I can't do contact lenses, so I think
as
they
you
don't look.
as as you said in the Evil Dad episode.
I know.
Um,
But yeah, like, I'm gonna be honest. The sharp teeth made me think it was Ian Holmes from Lord of the Rings, because there's a scene in Lord of the Rings 1 where Bilbo Baggins slightly becomes demonic a bit because of the power of the ring. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. Sleepy Hollow. What else did I have to?
I think because I kind of want to talk about what did you think. And the reason I kind of asked that question about the actors that play the Headless Horseman, I just wanted to ask, like, what did you think of this movie's depiction of the Headless Horseman in this movie? One of the most famous,
absolutely a horror. Sorry, you first.
one of the most famous horror icons to come out of the, which century was it? The 19th century.
Well, I thought he was absolutely horrifying. He's a ruthless killer. He murders anyone who crosses his path, and he also killed an entire family. For some reason, he doesn't kill Ichabod. For some reason, he doesn't kill Ichabod. Like, he could have just killed Ichabod, and he could have won. But
Well, if you pay, well, if I'm trying to put this in a way where I don't mean this in a bad way.
Well,
But,
no, I do know the twist. I do know why.
Yeah, because when the Headless Horseman is out to kill somebody, he's out to kill somebody specific. So, like, for example, I think the scene you might have just mentioned was the scene with Ichabod and Brom when they're fighting on the bridge with the Headless Horseman. And the Headless Horseman technically isn't after either one of them. But he sort of just has to kill Brom because Brom won't leave him alone.
That makes sense.
He won't stop trying to attack him, and so the Headless Horseman's like, "All right, I'll just gonna chop you in half." And in fact, if you notice, I think Brom might be the only victim of the Headless Horseman other than Mortis Fantastil, however you say his name, that doesn't actually no. I think Brom is the only one that doesn't get decapitated by the Headless Horseman. So
I thought the Headless Horseman decapitates everybody.
He did, except for Brom. He just cut him in half.
Oh, derp. I remember now. His death was brutal. Oh yeah, and also spoiler alert. The Headless Horseman is controlled by a witch, and she actually curses. She usually assigns the Headless Horseman to assassinate a target.
Yeah.
Best way I can put it. Not obviously butcher and murder, but it technically is basically a medieval version of assassination. I'm not using it as a negative. That just explains a lot.
That basically is what it is. Like, he's basically an assassin, and I like how at the end, where once he gets his skull, he kind of gets his own will back. He sort of just takes her and is like, "All right, I'm taking you to hell with me, bitch."
Oh yeah. What did you think about the witches? Because I assume they were never in the original storybook.
Nope. Because again, in the original book, Headless Horseman was literally just a mythic figure. Yeah. So I remember when I first saw this movie, I was like, okay, there's witches in this now, okay. And I think the plot of this movie, and especially as the movie goes on, it gets pretty wild. But I think that kind of adds to the fun of it, to be honest, because it does have a little bit of that Tim Burton ridiculousness to it. But I do kind of think the witch was a bit twisted, and I think what was a good twist, and I think what makes it work in the end is the fact that the Headless Horseman, once he gets his skull back, gets his own sort of will back. Because I've heard the complaint from people like, "Oh, the Headless Horseman just being a pawn makes him less scary." I don't really feel that way. I think he's scary as it is, as he is.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he's such, like, when you know the Headless Horseman shows up, if you're in Sleepy Hollow in this movie, and the Headless Horseman shows up at your house, you know shit is gonna go down.
You are screwed.
Yep. Off with your head.
No way to get ahead. If you hear a horse feet galloping, heads up.
I promise
you know to keep your hopes up high and your heads down low. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry, it just had to be done. It had to be done.
By the way, do you know what I realized? This is gonna sound so stupid of me, but so as I referenced earlier, one of my favorite bands, Motionless in White, have the Undead Head series of songs about the Sleepy Hollow. Both Undead Head 1 and Undead Head 2 are about Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And I don't know why, but I just realized in recent days that Undead Ahead is a head pun. Undead
Well, yeah.
Ahead.
You finally got it through your head. You set me up. You set me up. You set me up. Okay. You set me up.
Hey I bet when Chris Motionless was writing Creatures all the way back in 2010, he must have been in stitches coming up with that one.
He must have had the time of his life.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I think the Headless Horseman, I think he's such an incredible villain in this movie. And I think, dude, Ray Park brings so much physicality to the role, I think, because he's the one playing the Headless Horseman most of the time.
Yeah.
And so, you can tell just by the way he fights, by the way he just sort of moves and everything. It's like this dude is... Remember, both in the original story and in this movie, the Headless Horseman is a Hessian mercenary.
Mm-hmm.
So... those of you that don't know, Hessian mercenaries Hessians were basically mercenaries that came from the German states. I forget which one. During the American Revolution, they would come to America to fight for the British. But the British, I think, would pay them to come fight against the Americans. And so, remember, he is the Headless Horseman is the spirit of a Hessian soldier, so he's a trained soldier. Yeah. And I think he clearly knows how to fight. And he knows how exactly where the weak points on the human body are, especially the neck.
Oh yeah.
So
my neck, my back, or something like that. I forgot how the song went. Anyways, continue.
And so I think the Headless Horseman is done justice in this particular movie. That's kind of all I really have to say.
I thought the Headless Horseman was pretty good. He did his purpose. He's horrifying. He's evil, and Ichabod had to figure things out.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's a good segue into the sort of conspiracy plot of this movie where. The witch was trying to regain her inheritance from the Fantasal family because they sort of kicked her off her land when she was a kid. They had to go live in the Western Woods. This whole thing is very complicated.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of one of my problems with it is that on a first time watch, I don't know if you felt this way, but I know I did when I first watched this movie several years ago, that the conspiracy thing could be a little hard to follow, I think, on a first-time watch. What did you think? Did you have a hard time following it sometimes, or?
Let me think. The conspiracy. Because I'm trying to recall how I felt during the movie. Well, I kind of thought there was something going on the moment he started tying the victims together. Like how he found out they were all related, but. Yeah, I mean, it made sense by the end. It made sense by the end of it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It made sense at the end. It's just that during the movie, it's like when you're first time watching, it'd be like, okay, this is going on. This was related to that. This other thing was related to this. Things kind of start to get more complicated when Magistrate Phillips comes up to Ichabod. He's like, look. There were actually 5 victims instead of 4 because the widow Winship was pregnant, and that wasn't widely reported. Yeah, that wasn't widely reported on within the town because you get the feeling that Sleepy Hollow is a small enough town and like everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows each other's secrets. It's hard to keep secrets. Everybody is so close to each other. Yeah. So there's always business going on between people. And it's like, you can tell it's very hard to keep secrets. And, when Magistrate Phillips gets killed, it's because he's trying to leave because people found out his secrets. And so I really like that scene, though, when it's Ichabod's first encounter with the real Headless Horseman. I really like how he comes in, chops off Magistrate Phillips's head. His head sort of rolls into Ichabod's lap. Headless Horseman turns around, goes towards Ichabod, and just takes his sword and just sticks it into his head and kind of does like a little sword twirling move as he goes away. I don't know. I just thought that was so cool. I was like, man, they really get a lot of mileage out of like what sounds like you would think. Okay, well, watching people's heads get cut off in the same way sounds kind of like sounds like it would get old after a while, but I think they do it in a way where it doesn't get old.
This is gonna sound very stupid, but bear with me on this. That's just kind of the Headless Horseman's aura, really. And again, it's again his presence plus the atmosphere of the movie just gives him that aura.
Yeah. Also, the fact that he doesn't have a head also gives him that aura.
Yeah. The aura. I don't know if anyone's gonna get that reference.
Also, if you ask me, I think aura is a slightly overused word these days.
It is. I blame the late Zoomers and the TikTok Gen Alphas.
Kind of going back to this movie's atmosphere a little bit. What did you think of the scenes that took place in the Western Woods? Where the Tree of the Dead was, where that one other witch was. That part was
It was
weird.
creepy. It was eerie. I thought anything could happen. And I mean literally anything. And no good anything, mind you.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it really feels like, not only with the color palette and all the fog that's kind of throughout the whole movie, because if you look throughout the whole movie, there's always like fog or smoke or whatever either in the background or just present in the frame that's somewhere. But I really felt like, wow, this does feel like, if you told me without telling me the context of anything that's going on, if you just told me a picture of the Western Woods set that they were filming on, and or just the environment in general, and you told me that it was haunted, I would believe you. I also really like the sort of design of the Tree of the Dead where the Headless Horseman comes out of. It has that, again, going back to what you think of when you think of Tim Burton visuals, it has that sort of angled, just German expressionist look. And there's that part at the base of the tree where you have all those heads, and that's where the Headless Horseman comes out of. Because remember, that tree is basically where the Headless Horseman's grave is.
The tree was like, it's even on the movie poster too. The tree was like, it's made of blood. It's made of blood too.
Yeah, and it's even on the back of my steelbook right here.
Heck yeah.
And yes, people, I'm going to show this off every time I get an opportunity because it is my favorite steelbook. The Tree of the Dead, you have an actual photo of it on the steelbook right next to the actual book.
I have an idea for how I'm going to tease the podcast on my personal Instagram page.
And also, I forgot to, I'm not going to show you this, but so I have two discs right here. I got the 4K disc, and then underneath that is the Blu-ray. Underneath that, once you actually get to the packaging, it's the Headless Horseman's grave with the sword in the ground.
Oh, wow. I want to tell you, the Headless Horseman. So maybe I'm nitpicking. But when the Headless Horseman comes out of the tree for the first time, Ichabod is still staying next to the sword, where it's like he's buried by the grave. But when the Headless Horseman comes out, he has the sword with him. Is that like a continuity error or something?
It might be.
Bad movie! It's missing because of one major detail! I say blatantly sarcastic as if my stupid little voice couldn't give it away.
Yeah. I will say, in the behind the scenes documentary, so there was You okay?
No, this circuit impression I did is making me laugh like once. It's like the most delayed laughter ever. So
okay. So
I'm just imagining a caricature of that. Anyways, continue.
Okay, so in the behind the scenes documentary that I watched, so they used a decent amount of CGI in this movie. So that scene where the Headless Horseman comes out of the tree, the Headless Horseman and his horse are CGI in that one shot.
Yeah.
And so you have to remember, this is in 1999, so CGI wasn't what it is now. Oh, yeah. So it's like, I try not to hold it against the movie. It was kind of like last week when we were talking about Blade.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like other than the one part near the end where the Headless Horseman gets his skull and his head is reforming, That I think is kind of where you see the datedness in the CGI. But that one
I barely
particular,
noticed it.
yeah, but the one particular shot with him coming out of the tree, I think I genuinely couldn't tell it was CGI until they told me in the behind the
Oh
scenes
yeah,
documentary.
I barely noticed. I think what helps is the fact that I feel like the dark lighting kind of helps a bit. I barely
Yeah.
noticed the dating. Again, 1999 CGI just decided to upgrade itself for some reason. You know?
And by the way, I believe the CGI and the visual effects of this movie were done by Industrial Light and Magic, George Lucas's company.
That
So
explains so much if that's
yeah,
true. Again,
yeah.
1999 CGI decided let's step up our game, and they
Hell, and
stepped
I
up.
think some of the scenes were even filmed at the same studio as the Phantom Menace. So
That's crazy.
yeah. I mean, hell, it makes sense because they have Ray Park. You know, hey, the
Oh
guy's
yeah,
filming Star Wars next door. Hey, bring him in.
yeah,
We'll bring him in. We'll have him be the headless horseman.
yeah. I think Ray Park isn't Ray Park also Snake Eyes in the GI Joe live action movies. I'm curious
I
now.
I don't know.
Yeah, he is. He's Snake Eyes in the live action GI Joe movies.
So, I gotta ask, what did you think? Probably should have asked this earlier, but what did you think of the flashback sequence at the not at the beginning, but when after Ichabod comes to town, he meets with like the town's higher ups, and they tell him about the story of the headless horseman. What did you think of that scene? Because there's a bit of a different things with color that they do in that scene that I think makes it stand out.
I thought it was kind of interesting. I liked how it was like red and orange when it showed him like in battle, killing
Hmm.
everyone, butchering them, and then when it's like all white and he's like trying to get away, and the witches kind of give his location away. I thought
Hmm.
it was kind of interesting. It was like light, it was like bloody life and cold death, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Also with all the snow, it sort of
Oh yeah,
makes it stand out because there's no snow in most of the rest of the movie. So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I also and also too, it's like you have since he's being hunted by American soldiers in that scene, the American soldiers that are, I guess technically this time it's the Continental Army soldiers who are wearing blue, kind of makes it stand out because there's not too many other people wearing blue in this movie, so it makes it kind of stand out from a color perspective. And on the topic of flashback scenes, what did you think of the handful of flashback scenes we got to Ichabod as a child with his mother?
Okay, I wasn't too crazy about those scenes. I mean, I respect them for being completely silent, but I don't know. I don't know. Something about the scene just kind of made me. I mean, I just didn't care. I mean, something about them just didn't click right with me. I mean, I like how objectively speaking, they're well shot. Again, I like the creative liberty of them going for like silence, just to explore that innocence of childhood. I did like the final one though, where it just ended on Ichabod's mom completely like bleeding out of the iron
Mm-hmm.
lung. That actually kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just I don't know why. It felt like I was watching an art film. It felt like I was watching an artsy film with the flashback scenes,
Well,
and
those
I
flashback scenes definitely like they feel kind of dreamlike and very like not only with terms of like what's going on, but also with the color because the colors in those scenes are a lot brighter than all the other colors in all the other scenes in the movie. So it kind of gives one, it makes it stand out visually, but also it gives it a very sort of surreal sort of feeling. But
Mhm.
I think those scenes are important because they kind of establish why Ichabod is the way he is, the why he believes so much in like logic and reasonable thinking and science and all that stuff because he
Mhm.
grew up with a father who was very set in his religious ways, believed
Fire
this,
and brimstone, fire and
fire and
brimstone,
brimstone, yeah.
fire and brimstone religious guy. That's the movie.
Exactly, exactly. So it's like I think those scenes are important to establish why Ichabod is the way he is. So
Yeah.
that's my take, anyways.
So if I heard a knock on my door, it's all good. I hope it's not the headless horseman. But anyways, anyways, what was I
Ugh.
thinking? What was I? Oh yeah, I wanted to say when you mentioned one thing I forgot to mention was that I kind of thought Ichabod's bag of like gadgets and chemicals was kind of cool. Just kind of again, it's like it does bring out more of that quirkiness of Ichabod. It's like I mean I know it's just a minor thing, but just like when he's like trying to solve the murder, like, he brings up his bag. He has the chems and like the little like
The goggles, yeah.
yeah, the little magnifying glass goggles.
Hmm.
It definitely gave Ichabod that, like, quirky, like I said, Milo Stewart from Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
And also it's like it makes the feel of these gadgets and everything. It feels kind of feels adds to the fantastical feeling because I don't know if those gadgets actually existed back in 1799, but it makes the movie again. It kind of adds to the fantastical feel of this movie with his little bag of useful gadgets to investigate dead bodies, decapitated bodies.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Also, I think the movie I found it interesting. The movie felt like it got more progressively gory as it kept going.
It did, yeah. I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
Um,
like I was saying to myself, man, this movie's not that gory aside from decapitations, and then next thing you know, the freaking family was murdered.
yep.
Family was murdered. Uh, what's his name got like sliced and diced. That one guy got like shot with like a freaking fence post and dragged out, and only to get decapitated.
Yeah.
Everyone's dying.
By the way, I really like that church sequence that kind of comes at the beginning of the third act, or maybe it's at the end of the second act. I don't know.
It's a cool sequence. I love
Yeah,
it.
with the headless horseman kind of going around the church, and you have the townspeople with muskets firing at him, and you can tell it's like the headless horseman isn't even remotely glazed by these gunshots. He's just dusting them off, like like you think your guns are gonna do anything against me, and I like that. So that guy that gets impaled, that's Katrina's father. So and I really like how he just gets impaled, and I think it's a pretty creative kill. I think he gets impaled by that little church fence post, and gets dragged out through the glass window, and then he gets decapitated. I mean, he's probably already dead by the time he gets decapitated, but I love that whole action sequence. It's so cool. Very well choreographed, well shot.
Oh yeah,
so great.
It's a great sequence.
Yeah,
and especially with like it's not just Katrina's father getting killed. Two other people get killed. Like one guy gets shot with a gun. Another Katrina bashes the other old guy in with like the cross. It's like it's a bloodbath.
Oh yeah, and
it's not the biggest bloodbath in cinema history, but still. Yeah. It's like I said, everyone's dying.
Yeah, and it's also you can tell that panic is really starting to set in because it's like with the townspeople because they're all freaking out because of the headless horseman and how he's like he's the headless horseman, he's like the town myth in these parts, and he's right out there going to kill them all, and they're kind of starting to turn on each other. That one guy gets shot. I think Katrina's father shoots that one guy. I'm pretty sure the guy he kills is played by Ian McDermott, Emperor Palpatine. And then he goes up to
Ian McDermott's in this movie. Yeah.
This is kind of a. I remember when I watched this in 2020, as I was reading the credits, I was like, so hold on, we got Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, Michael Goff, Christopher Lee, Ian McDermott. Dude, this is a star-studded cast here.
Exactly.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Even though
it's a good cast.
Yeah, even though Ian McDermott is only in like a handful of scenes, but still, it's Ian McDermott.
Indeed. Okay, for some reason I wrote my notes. I'm not too crazy on the characters, but I kind of thought they served their place. They served their purpose in place.
Like, can you be a little more specific?
I don't know what I meant by that. I literally don't know what I meant by that. I wrote my notes not too crazy. Maybe it's because I thought I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know why I wrote that down, so we can ignore that. But one thing I did write down that I can talk about is the score of this film. It is a very dramatic film. Like,
oh god,
it's a horror film, but like everything's just so dramatic. Everything, there's tensity to it. It almost feels like I don't know how to put it. Like, it's just the orchestra feeling of the whole movie. Like it's something. It feels very dramatic for a horror film.
Yeah, and you probably will not be surprised to hear this at all, but the score was composed by Danny Elfman, a regular Tim Burton collaborator.
I knew it. It's just, I was like, was it Danny Elfman? But when you mentioned it, I was like,
Yes.
yeah, it was Danny Elfman. He did Nightmare Before Christmas. He did the Spider-Man soundtrack. Yeah.
He did Batman.
I forgot about that.
A bunch of other Tim Burton movies. I think he did Edward Scissorhands as well.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. He adds the music. It's both orchestral and gothic at the same time, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it adds so much to, again, much like the visuals, it adds so much character of its own to the movie. But yeah, Danny Elfman, you're amazing, sir.
Yeah, absolute legend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially if you're a big fan of the band Oingo Boingo.
Oingo Boingo.
Oingo Boingo. Fuck, I thought. Okay, it's funny. I thought it was Oingo Boingo. Then I heard it. Then I heard Oingo Boingo and thought I was wrong. But now it's Oingo Boingo. Especially if you're a fan of the band Oingo Boingo, then you'll especially love Danny Elfman as a film composer.
Or if you're a fan or if you're a fan of Avenged Sevenfold, like I am.
Oh wait, what? Elaborate. I'm curious now.
A Little Piece of Heaven.
That's Oingo Boingo inspired.
Yes, in fact, Steve Bartek, who does a lot of Danny Elfman's arrangements, did horn arrangements on that song.
Oh, I was more familiar with the Zappa influence, but okay.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But
yeah, score is freaking good. It's very dramatic. It just sounds like something you'd hear in like a it's a very dramatic for a horror film. Very, very dramatic. I guess another thing I can add is I asked you about the witches. I thought the witches were a little strange, but looking back, yeah, they served their purpose. I did think it was weird how like, I mean, it is you kind of so. I stood awake for the movie, but for some reason my body's like, Nick, you're too tired. But no, I stood awake and I figured things out. I figured a conspiracy out, and yeah, I was a little weirded out by the witches. Like, there was no way the witch that tells Ichabod is going to serve any purpose. This is just some fantasy thing I have to suspend my sleep. But nope, they served a purpose. I had to remember I remembered, well, the witches gave away the location, and therefore the sister was outcasted and everything too. I don't know if they had original plans to like elaborate more on the witch's past. I mean, there's the prequel comic for that. Was there, Drew?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. That's what I gotta say, man.
I think Sleepy Hollow, its biggest strength, in my opinion, is kind of what we talked about before, with its character through visuals and sound, with the score as well as with the sound effects themselves. I think those are. I was telling one of my friends. I was talking with one of my friends a couple days ago. One of my friends at work, who, by the way, watches the show.
Hell yeah!
Thank you,
Hi, friend at work.
Thank you, Emiliano, for watching the show. Thank you. He was telling me that he watches this movie every year because around Halloween time, because of its fall and autumn vibes, and I totally get it. I think that's one of this movie's biggest strengths. Is it's one of those movies that's like, if around Halloween time, you can just throw it on in the background when you're at like a party or something, and just let the visuals do all the talking, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of.
I see.
I mean, hell, that shot I was talking about earlier, with the shot of the at the beginning, at the end of the title sequence, with the Van Tassel mansion and that little like scarecrow thing at the bottom of the frame, at the bottom corner of the frame. It's like, that's something that's a shot you can have on your wall. Like, that is. There are many shots like that, I think, where it's like, these are shots that you can just take a still frame of them and have them on your wall if you had enough wall space. It's one of those kind of movies, but I also think the story itself is engaging enough to where it's like, it's not just style over substance, if that makes sense. Because I think,
not gonna lie, during my first time watching this, I was, like I said, I can't put it in the words, but there's some parts that I felt pretty off. I was expecting this movie to style over substance, but in the end, it all made sense, and it all stacked together. It's like I said before we recorded. It's like, you know, making a movie is like building a house of cards. Just because a few cards fall off doesn't mean the whole house falls apart. And like one or two cards fell off when building the Sleepy Hollow thing, but it still stood, and it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, and it's funny because I mentioned earlier in this episode that this movie has kind of, when it comes to Tim Burton movies, it has kind of flied under the radar in recent years. And honestly, I don't really know why, because everybody who I have talked about this movie, most people tell me, oh, it's a movie I watch every year around Halloween time. It's a movie that's like one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. But yet, for some reason, when the grand sort of scope of the film-loving community, when we talk about Tim Burton movies, it's Edward Scissorhands or Ed Wood or Nightmare Before Christmas or Batman that will tend to come up before the... What?
Corpse Bride?
Even, I don't know about Corpse Bride, but, it's a lot of those kind of movies that often come up before this one. And it's like, I feel like this movie is up there with those other ones. Like, it's got everything you would want in a Tim Burton movie. It's got the visuals, it's got the score, it's got Johnny Depp, it's got the quirkiness, it's got the fucking vibes, the immaculate autumn fall vibes. It's got the classic horror feel. I mean, hell, I forgot to tell you that when Tim Burton was making this movie, he drew a lot of inspiration from a lot of classic horror movies like Frankenstein with the scene with the windmill at the end, but also with Hammer horror. So like that's Christopher Lee era Dracula, to put it in simple terms.
That's crazy.
And hell, even the way that blood is used is very reminiscent of like those old Hammer films, because those used to have a lot of stylized blood. And hell, even during production, the blood was actually orange because they wanted a very specific look, because they were going to apply this blue filter over this whole movie. And so they wanted the blood to be orange on set, because once they put the filter over everything, the blood would look like a specific shade of red that they really wanted to make it look more stylized and to make it really pop out amongst the gloomy, very like dark color palette scenery. Because like the blood stands out compared to everything, because it's a completely different color compared to everything else. Like there's that one shot of when Ichabod, when after he's done operating on the body of the widow Windship, he comes out with his apron, and it's like the blood just stands out compared to every other aspect of the scene composition. And so that's the kind of look that's the exact kind of look that they wanted. And so you can tell Tim Burton's love of classic horror, like again, like the Universal monster movies, like Hammer horror and all that sort of stuff. It just bleeds through every single frame of this movie, and it adds so much of its own character, and it's just so good. You should all go watch this movie. It's so good.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's a for some reason when I was watching it, I thought I'd just think it's okay, but it was good. It was good. I liked it. Had a few hiccups, but nothing too big to ruin it. It's a good movie. It's a good watch.
Yeah, and it's before, like I was kind of saying before, it's before the Johnny Depp Tim Burton collaboration got stale. So it's and this was before everybody knew Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow. So because remember, this movie came out like 4 years before Pirates of the Caribbean. So this is such a good movie, and everybody go listen to those Motionless in White songs. They're so good. I really don't have anything else to say other than go watch this goddamn movie, guys. Go watch this movie.
It's a good movie. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Movie Mortis podcast. If you enjoyed, be sure to like the video and comment down below what you thought of this movie, what you thought of this episode, or want to say something stupid in the comments. Anything goes. Follow the social medias, and also follow the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Am I forgetting anything else?
I think you got all of them. Amazon Music / Audible. That's what it says on the thing, anyways.
Okay, yeah, because I still use iTunes for every now and then, but thank you guys so much for listening, and subscribe to Movie Mortis for more movie madness. Have a good night and watch your head.